So in this episode, we're going to talk about, is LinkedIn cringe? So if you look at social channels, Instagram, Twitter, X, Facebook, TikTok, every platform has its eccentricities. And so on Twitter, it's very argumentative. Random people will just throw you under the bus. Instagram is very kind of shallow in one sense. There's a lot of kind of fakery in the sense of like people presenting their perfect lives. TikTok, again, has its own quirks. So every platform has its quirks. And one of the things that is a quirk of LinkedIn is how cringy it can be. And I'll give you some examples. The other day, I saw a picture of a post in my feed of a photo of a lady sat on a toilet with her pants down and everything, with a laptop on her, on her lap, basically saying, being a business owner, it never stops. And I don't know why people think that this is a good idea. I guess you can get swept away in how easy that kind of stuff can get traction. And, it doesn't matter whether the traction is good or bad. If people comment and like and spend time on the post, if it provokes a reaction in people, it blows up. And so what people are doing is going, well, hang on a minute, this cringe thing, which is slightly embarrassing to the vast majority of the population, I can build an edge with it. And so you'll see things like a guy who put up his wedding photos and said, I got married this weekend and here's 20 B2B marketing lessons from getting married. It is cringe. And the theory behind this is it doesn't matter because once I've blown up, the whole world will change. And the reality is it isn't true. So we think that if you get fame for any reason, you can make money from it. And this is where the cringe is being kind of, it's kind of being propelled because the cringe, the theory is, if I blow up, it must get me success. It doesn't. And so you can see that the mainstream, which is the vast majority of normal people, basically, it shreds your reputation and it's so cringy. But why do people still do it? Well, let's be honest. If you get a post that's popular, it blows up, you feel on cloud flipping nine. You feel like the world is your oyster. You feel like you're about to change the planet. The dopamine rush from getting a high-performing post is incredible. But it doesn't actually translate into pounds, dollars, like you might think. There's a reason why most influencers, let's remove the people here we're talking about who are like mega celebrities. So in other words, they've made their money somewhere else and now they're an influencer, right? They've got money from another source. Now they're an influencer. They were a TV celebrity or something like that. Let's ignore them and look at the actual content creators who've come from no fame to being well known or famous on social media. Most of those people, the majority of them, barring a small fraction of a percent of people, are solopreneurs. The average income of a content creator is less than $50,000 a year. Just 4% of all of the creators on Earth make more than $100,000 a year. So you look at that and you go, okay, so it's not big money unless you really go to the top of the tree. And so there is this sense, and it is true to some degree, that if you want to be a big content creator, you have to have a few big breaks. And once you've got those big breaks, you can kind of, wedge open other opportunities. But this cringiness is like becoming famous for being best friends with Donald Trump. Yeah. A good proportion of the entire planet are going to hate you or not like you because of it. And this whole cringe on LinkedIn is the cringe is a spectacle. So it's not the quality of the content. It's not the message you're sharing. It's the way you've put it together is so lame that it becomes a spectacle. And some people do it on purpose. So they know why they're doing it. They're making it cringe on purpose because they want to get attention for it being so cringe. But I would say anybody who's serious about their reputation, if you want to get famous, go on TV and eventually carve out something in kind of, pop culture, kind of celebrity status, that kind of stuff. I'm sure that could work. But you would have to be such a cringe fest on LinkedIn, it would be unreal. No serious decision maker would buy from you if you really embrace the cringe and push the envelope as far as you could. So LinkedIn is cringe. A few years ago, there was the CEO of a company. He'd been traveling the world in his camper van, living the life, and his business had fell on hard times. Tough thing. You could argue, why the hell were you traveling the world with a camper van when your business is facing challenges? And he basically had to let some people go. I can't remember now whether it was 2 people or 4 people, but he had to let people go. Tough thing. Sometimes it happens. It's not nice. That's just part of the life of being a business owner. And he decided that it was a great idea to take a picture of himself crying, right? So let's just think about this, right? What goes through your head to actually go, I know, I'm crying, I'm upset. Let me take a picture of that, right? Why would you do that unless you had a motive? So obviously the CEO, letting people go, takes a picture of himself upset. Whether he was upset for real, who knows? But he had a motive for taking a picture of himself. He then goes to LinkedIn. He posts the picture of him crying and talks about how difficult it was for him to let people go. Now, I'm convinced that the whole thing was a stunt because nobody can be that self-obsessed. Nobody surely can be that self-absorbed that they're in that moment they think about themselves. But he did. He posted about himself. And he got a lot of attention, a lot of engagement, a lot of backlash, and a lot of media coverage. Off the platform, news channels, the works. Did that do his business any favors? I don't know whether it did. I haven't checked up on where he is right now, but the vast majority of people, they're not thinking, hey, maybe we could use you to help us. Maybe we could use you to build our brand. Because from my perspective, yes, he became famous, but he shredded his brand. Now, I don't know where he is today, but for me, right, a one-hit wonder like that, where does it get you? So this whole cringe fest on LinkedIn, it is real. It is there. And you can play with it a little bit if you want to. But I just think I've got some self-respect. I'm not going to basically rinse myself out and pimp myself out for stuff that I think, this is poor, this is bad. Or maybe I'll change in a few years. I don't know. But I just think, yes, LinkedIn is absolutely cringe. There's an element of it that you should be able to just put up with. There's an element of it you should embrace. But some of this stuff is way too far. Way too far. But the problem is, right, the population, we are what we call, where I grew up, is rubberneckers. And a rubbernecker is basically, we love a spectacle. So if 2 people were arguing in the street, we'd have to watch and find out what's going on. If there was a car accident, we'd have to slow down and have a look, right? So when you see the cringe or you see something that's like a bit controversial, we have to have a look. And so what happens is our human instinct, our curiosity, actually rewards this kind of provocative content or cringe content because it creates a spectacle. shreds your reputation. You know, I know of some people who use LinkedIn in a very particular way, and I've got corporate companies who say they will never work with them because of their conduct on LinkedIn. Now, that might not be their target audience. Might not be the target audience. Their target audience might be totally different, in which case that's cool. And if it's working for them, brilliant. But I just think, like, going too far with the cringe on LinkedIn, pushing the envelope a little bit too much, can actually might make you famous, but won't make you a fortune. The problem is, for us looking on, and we see these posts that blow up where people are being cringy and cheesy, is we think, well, I'd love to blow up like that. Maybe I should do that. And so this cringe fest gets propelled because we think, externally looking at it, the rewards of it are worth gritting your teeth through it. But I know some of my clients who pay me significant sums, 5 and 6 figures, would never work with me if I did some of this crazy stuff, like sat on the toilet with my pants down, telling you this is how hard I work. It's like, really? It's nuts. And whilst we're here, we'll talk about another thing. So LinkedIn is known for its platitudes. So LinkedIn loves people sharing platitudes and self-evident advice, obvious points that everybody knows. And again, we reward it because LinkedIn's culture is it's a more motivational place. And so if you put a motivational quote that we've all seen a million times up there, people love it. And I see people, and they can do what they want. It's their platform. They can do what they want. But I'm giving advice to other people. I'm giving advice to my listeners. So I'm not saying, you know, to people who are doing that, don't do it because I said so. I'm just saying, actually, my advice is there is this strategy on LinkedIn that many influencers follow. And the theory is I will basically do lots and lots of platitude content, lots of obvious stuff, selfies, tell my stories. And as I blow up, I'll just basically follow the formula to blow up. You know, grab tons of followers, tons of engagement. I'll follow that formula. And then once I've got there, I will switch over to talk about what I want to talk to. In other words, you start at point A, which is like light, motivational, all that kind of stuff. And basically blow up and then pivot away from that to more serious, meaty content. And I've seen a few people do this and fail, basically. So what happens is your audience comes for the shallow platitudes, all that kind of hypey motivational stuff, and I love that stuff too. But then when you try and shift, it becomes a major problem. So a classic example of this is Hollywood. Right? So you decide, right, I want to break into Hollywood, and the easiest route into Hollywood is to be comedy actor. So the idea is you become a comedy actor, you do really, really well, get a success in successful roles in comedy acting, and then the theory is, right, now I've got into this, I've established my name, I'll shift into the more serious acting work. The more serious roles, the action hero, the psychological thrillers, that kind of stuff. And it doesn't happen. If you look at the people who have made that transition, most of the films where they have gone from, say, comedy to a more serious role, most of them have been lower budget movies. They've not been Hollywood blockbuster movies. They've been like secondary movies, the artistic-y movies, the ones that don't have the big budgets. And so what happens is you basically say, right, I'll follow the formula to get there, and then I'll switch. But unfortunately, the audience you've built are not necessarily, or a large swathe of them are not interested in what you've got to say on that. And if you go around LinkedIn, you will find people with 1 million followers and 200,000 followers and 500,000 followers who have done this in the past. And you look at their posts now and it's like 16 likes and 16 comments. but with 500,000 followers. Why is that? Because they started in one place, and then when they got the success, they pivoted, and that slowly degenerated down, right? Because you have to break through. My view, my opinion is you have to break through for who you are. You have to break through with what you want to talk about, and that is a fight. You have to get people on your side. You have to challenge people and stand by what you believe and the way you do it. Yes, as optimized as possible. But otherwise, what you're doing is saying, I'm just going to follow the crowd, right? And think about it. There's a successful formula to blowing up on LinkedIn, and it's basically delivering shallow advice. Okay, I am going to do the shallow advice. I'm going to follow the trend to get there, right? And it sounds great. But when you get there, you as a person, you as an individual are not fulfilled because the things you really want to talk about, the things you really believe in, the things that really matter to you, nobody cares about. Because you've skipped the opportunity to actually fight for it and build a tribe for it. And the reality is you won't grow as fast when you're trying to build something based on who you are, what you stand for. It won't be as fast as, putting motivational quotes up every day and saying, do you agree? Or putting infographics up with, the big one at the moment seems to be people appealing to like business owners, writing advice to that employees of companies will absolutely love. And I'm like, why are you doing this? What are you trying to achieve? And basically what they're trying to achieve is, I will grow my LinkedIn so it's huge and then sell my services to other business owners to get them to become huge by talking about advice that the mass population would agree with, not necessarily things they believe in. So, and I'm not saying the advice is wrong. I'm just saying it's so obvious advice, like, a business is not a family. Okay, cool. So lots of employees will go, yeah, absolutely right. I hate it when people do that. What are you doing? Why are you doing this? Like, you're a business owner basically giving advice that is generic, that is on the internet everywhere, and you're doing it to build your platform for what? To sell to business owners so that they can give generic advice to employees? The problem is it works, it performs, they get loads of engagement, loads of followers, and, all of that stuff. But for what? I don't want to just give generic business advice. It sounds soul destroying, right? Oh, yes, I'd absolutely love the likes and the comments and the impressions. I'd love it coming out my ears. But that isn't my mission. My mission isn't to kind of throw businesses under the bus and get employees excited and basically share all the anti-toxic advice about employers and employees. That's not my mission. My mission isn't to share leadership advice that's been on the internet since day one, right? It's platitudes, it's cringe, it's needy, it's just appealing to the masses to get what you want and then pivot across. I'm really not interested in that. I want to make a difference. I want to basically share stuff that helps people think more deeply, helps business owners. In one sense, I know this sounds horrific, and I don't mean it nasty. I'm not interested in appealing to employees. I'm interested in appealing to business owners and saying, motivating them, giving them ideas that they can build their business and grow. That's what I'm interested in. I'm not interested in giving advice to employees about bad employers, right? I think it's better to go, right, how can I make these business owners better employers, better businesses? What can I do to encourage them? What can I do to help them make more money in their own business so that they hire more people? That's what I'm interested in. And so there is this trend of just gathering a crowd by following the methodology and then trying to pivot. And it is it is the sister or the brother of the cringe movement on LinkedIn, because it is basically, I'll follow a formula, give generic advice, get the traction, and then tell people what I want to say. And the cringe piece is, if I do something that's a bit outlandish, a bit provocative, or a bit self-absorbed, it will create a spectacle and people will pay attention. So LinkedIn is cringe. Yes, LinkedIn has its cringe, but get over it. It's still an amazing platform. It's still brilliant. It's still a great place to do business, despite its cringe. Just like Twitter, for all its toxicity and all its negativity that's there, it is a great place to do business. But there are quirks. Instagram is full of fakery and people on holiday pretending it's their real lives, all that stuff. But it's a great place to do business. There are these quirks of social platforms, but it is a great place. It is a brilliant place to do business. It is somewhere that you can grow and build a network and build relationships and build all of that stuff. So that's why I love it. I might hate some of the things about it, but I love it. The key thing for you on LinkedIn is basically find what works for you. In other words, that makes you money. I always advise people, focus on fortune before fame. Fame, if you really want to become famous and well-known and, build that kind of mini celebrity status, great, go for it. But it costs money. It costs time. So make money first and then get the fame. Don't try and do it the other way around, because the majority of people who are doing it the other way around already have the money. So what they're doing is they're starting from a point where they're making a salary or they've got a business that's performing. They're making good money. They're now investing money, because most of these big influencers aren't doing their LinkedIn themselves. There's agencies behind them, right? So a lot of the content you're seeing is not actually things that have been written or created by the creator themselves. So you've got somebody, investment, cash, and people behind those profiles. And then they're using that platform to sell something else. So think about it like that. They've made a ton of money, so they're secure. They're not using it to live. They're not using their LinkedIn to make money to actually run their business, their day-to-day, which 90% of the people using LinkedIn would be doing that. So they're not making money from LinkedIn in that sense. That's not their livelihood, winning clients there. They're building this platform and investing heavily in it, money and time and people, so that when they get there, they spin it out and make more money on the other side. So different service. So you just have to analyze this, because when you look at it, you go, maybe I should do that. Maybe I should do that. Maybe I should do that. Think about it. Can you afford to invest heavily in building that platform? Not just for a month, by the way. So don't just think you can blow up. Some of these people will have been investing in their profile thousands of pounds a month for many, many months, 18 months, 2 years, heavy investment to get there. Can you afford that? If you can't afford that, make the money first. So that means not pursuing likes, comments, followers. It means leads and clients first, doing that, and then building the fame. And when I'm on my accelerator, I say to people, content and virality and followers are not your priority in the first 90 days at least of working with me. Your first priority is making money. Once that's done, once you've got that, now build something out. So LinkedIn's cringe. I don't advocate pursuing the cringe. You might want to play with it a little bit occasionally, but don't get sucked into doing it, because it can heavily damage your reputation. I'm not into throwing people under the bus on LinkedIn. I'm not into creating spectacles on LinkedIn. I'm not into posting your personal drama on LinkedIn. But it is a platform where people do that. It's a free country. They can do it. But I don't think it's the most profitable thing you should be doing on LinkedIn.